All right, welcome everybody. We are going to get started in just a moment here. This is the Davis Electric Vehicle Association General Members Meeting. My name is Sandra Hall. I'm facilitating all the electronics in the background. If you are able to introduce yourself to the rest of the attendees on chat here, that would be great. On your screen that I'm sharing, I show directions how you can introduce yourself to all panelists and attendees so that you can chat with everyone and not just the panelists. We want group discussions to happen so that you guys can all talk about cool electric vehicle stuff. But while you're doing that, I will go ahead and introduce our leader for the night, Tim Tutt, one of our DEVA board members.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight on these once every 2 month meetings. I never know whether to say bi-monthly or some other word. And I appreciate your attention. We have a good meeting today. We're going to be talking about buying a used EV, about vehicle to grid stuff, and a few other things. And so I think the next item on the agenda, Sandra, is the hot topics item. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. This is a item on our agenda where when we had in-person meetings where anybody could raise their hand in the room and say, you know, I heard about this, or I have an interest in this issue. I have a question about that issue, etc. So here on the Zoom, I think we would address those issues either in the chat, or if you go to the participants button, you can raise your hand. It's just below the list of participants to the right. There's a button to say raise hand, and then Sandra can call on you to bring out your issue or your question.
It sounds like there might be some sound issues. Are there other people having sound issues, or is there only one person with that?
Your voice sounds like it's muddled and breaking up, but does my voice sound muddled and broken up as well when people are hearing me? Yes, I hear that.
Looks like it's just me. Sorry, guys. Might be my new headphones. But for now, go ahead and ask questions if you have them.
I'm not seeing too many other questions, or too many questions at all, I guess.
No.
Anybody raising their hand?
I don't see any hands raised either. Oh, Katrina. Katrina, yes, your hand is raised. I'm allowing you to talk. Go ahead and speak.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say hello. And I had a question. I guess it's a little bit off topic, but I was just curious, kind of random, if you guys have ever taken any of your animals in your cars and like, can they tell the difference of the quietness, or if you've kicked it, especially on the fast Teslas, if the dogs or anything have been overwhelmed like all the humans have been. I was just thinking about it because my cat freaked out about the lawnmower passing by, and I was just like, chill. But just, you know, wondering what anybody else was feeling about animals and such in the car.
Well, I've, yes, of course, taken my dogs to the vet and on trips in the car, and frankly, I don't think they can tell the difference when, for example, our volt switches from electricity to gas. They don't seem to notice at all. And I've taken cats to the vet in the car, and cats are just, most of them, I've seen a few that are just so freaked out by being in a car at all that they don't notice anything either.
I've taken my my dog on car trips with me, and he hasn't noticed anything. I'm in a Bolt, so it's all electric, and he's just really happy to be in the car and going somewhere.
Right.
I do see a question here, or pardon me, Christine, I see you have your hand up. I'm going ahead and unmuting you. You may unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, this is me, or do we have two Christines or one?
Christine, yes, Krieger. I'm
Okay,
saying that right.
I didn't raise my hand, but that's okay. It just happened automatically. I'm the first time on my iPhone for Zoom. Usually I'm on my laptop, so I'm a little bit clumsy today.
No worries. Well, would you like to introduce
And can
yourself?
you see me? Is the camera on or not? I have no idea.
No, no cameras.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. I see Jeff is asking about the VWI series, and we can have, oh, and he's asking about the VWID van, whether that's coming. I don't know on the top of my head much about that, but I know, Katrina, you shared some information in April about that. Do you remember by chance?
Yeah, I mean, it'll come eventually. I don't know off the top of my head. I would say things are probably a bit delayed because of just the way life is rolling right now. But it is coming, is what I have heard, is that it's slated for here. It's not just a European exclusive like some cars are. So I'm excited about it, and I think a lot of people are sharing your thoughts about it too, that we really want to see it out. I know I'm thrilled. I want to see that sucker. It's going to be so cool.
Yes, yes. And then I see we have David here. He is a new member who has set up a business detailing Teslas while they supercharge. David, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you briefly so you can say hello to everybody and tell us what you're talking about for a moment. David, go ahead. I think you have to unmute yourself
There
as
we
well.
go. Hi, guys. I'm Dave Ewert. I am the founder of a new business called Electric Joy, and we are in business to detail Teslas while they are hooked up to the supercharger. We've opened our first location at the Arden Fair Mall, and we launched right before the whole COVID pandemic hit. So we launched, we shut down, we've come back. And I bumped into Jim, I would say about 3 weeks ago, and we started a chat. And he said if it would be okay if I could just introduce the business to the club. I live in Marin. This is our first location, and we're planning to expand across the Bay Area and across the nation.
Great, thank you. Thanks for
Thank you for
sharing
that.
what you're doing. Where are you currently, where exactly is your detailing place currently?
We are in the Arden Fair Mall parking garage, which is where the Tesla supercharger is. There are 19 stalls total, 7 on the outside and 12 under the cover of the parking garage. And we can service cars inside the garage or outside. And we all go for business, all down to products are toxic, degradable, battery, and portable vacuum that charge solar. Trying to be as clean as possible. I'm a Tesla owner, and been driving EV for years.
Great, thank you. Quick question, do you deal with dog hair? I hear a couple
We
people trying to
do.
keep the dog hair out of the car.
Yeah, that is a great question. We do deal with dog hair. We see it often. There is a little trick. There's a rubber wand that we use that really seems to lift it up. It's still a chore to get out, but we love detailing Teslas and cleaning up after you. So the dirtier the better. It just gives us more room to improve on your vehicle.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And your company's name is Electric Joy. Is it electricjoy.com?
Yes, it is electricjoy.com, and you can take a look at what we do and our services, and then we're also on Twitter, we're on Yelp, and we're on Instagram. So if you do a search for Electric Joy, you can kind of see what we do and what we offer. And I like to say that I like detailing my Tesla, but I really love detailing other people's Teslas. So that was kind of the inspiration.
Nice. We have David Tokarski. I am unmuting you, so go ahead and unmute yourself and you can speak.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And I just want to attest to David's business there. I happened to be over at Arden Fair today charging, and I had gotten my car detailed by them a couple weeks ago, and they did a great job, and even got a little friendly touch-up on my car today while I was charging without asking. So, David, I appreciate what you guys did for me today, and I'm really excited for you guys to be doing what you're doing over at Arden Fair.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate those kind words. You know, we're more than happy to give a discount to Sacramento members. So if there's a way that I can run that to the group, I'd be more than happy to do so.
Great, thank you.
Any other topics or questions? Yes, one thing I could say is I believe for people that are in Davis, that I think the Davis staff, the city staff EV infrastructure plan is coming out on Friday. And so if you are interested in looking at that, I'll have to find some way of getting a link to you guys, or understanding where you can look for that online. I don't know if it's the planning, the Utilities Commission, or some other agenda item for City of Davis.
Great, and we also have Guy Hall. I'm allowing you to talk and unmuting you. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah, it looks like I'm unmuted now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So for the last 10 years, we've had this National Drive Electric Week in September, and we're looking at doing it again this September. And it's the last week in September and spills into, it's a week long, it spills into the first part of April. Probably not April, October. But I've got curious for the group here, both leadership team and the because there's a big volunteer event that we've done that includes generally test drives and you know, show and tell, a showcase. What's the feeling given our current situation, trying to project into the future, everybody use your crystal ball and try to say, would Davis be interested in doing an event in the latter part of September, or tentatively interested, or just no way that this is gonna meet the desires of the team? So I'd like to get the feedback from people. I don't know the best way to get feedback, whether that's that chat panel, Sandra, or is that?
Yeah, probably the chat would be good. I'm seeing what hands might be up. I know, Chris, I've allowed you to talk if you would like, to that or to the other question as well.
So I can both speak to the city's planning project for chargers in the community, as well as this question. I think the DEVA leadership team that meets on a monthly basis, we kind of took this up a month or two ago as we were looking at going into the COVID lockdown. And I think it would be appropriate for the team to look at it again. We've talked about a couple of ideas, and I guess I think that should be a decision in that group, and maybe we could just make sure that we have that on the agenda for this month, and we get lots of input from folks who might be interested in helping, because I think there's a number of different ideas about what an event might look like and how it might be managed, and how you do all of this with social distancing still in place. And so we have a lot of talking to do with dealers and other people to see how that functions. So that's my response to the question about events or activities for Drive Electric Week. I also, so regarding the city's they are about to let a contract for implementation of the grant they received from SACOG, which spells out the kind of generally the kinds of devices and where they might be located. And the language for that contract is supposed to be based on, final language, based on review from the Utilities Commission, which met last month and took some initial input, asked a lot of questions, and now the staff is coming back to the Utilities Commission with answers to those questions. The report from the staff on those questions will be going out on Friday afternoon to the commission, and will be public on the city's website. And so for those people who would like to receive that agenda and be able to look at that report, there's a couple of ways we might be able to do that. We could post a link on the DEVA website, but you can go directly to the city's website and sign up. Also, if you're a Davis resident especially, you can sign up for the Utilities Commission and get the feed, and that agenda will go to you directly. So I can leave a link in the chat for people to be able to go to the commission webpage where all of the agendas are posted every month prior to the meeting, and that should go out on Friday.
Great. And I think, Carrie, you might have something to contribute. I have unmuted you if you'd like to speak.
Sure. Let me make sure I am available. Yes. I am available to answer any questions if anyone has any about the EV charging plan, which was adopted in 2017 and which was used as a resource for the SACOG EV infrastructure grant, which we received money for. And I am currently working with other staff and the Utilities Commission on setting up the approach to implementing this funding. While we will be at some point in the near future about to release a contract for consultant services to prepare for phase 1 implementation, we're not at that point quite yet. We have a few steps to go through, including this second meeting with the Utilities Commission next Wednesday night, and approval by City Council. So it's a process, but we're very pleased to have close to $2 million for City of Davis for various components, including the EV infrastructure, both hopefully level 2 and level 3 DC fast chargers. So I don't want to take too much of your time, but I can answer questions as one of the project managers on the SACOG grant implementation.
Great, thank you. And I see we have a lot of interest in the chat of other people that are interested in joining the, or assisting with an event to raise awareness of EVs and such, and the clean air that goes along with that. So that's great to see. We will definitely be in touch with all of you folks. But I think that might even be about time for this portion. Oh, sorry, we've got Guy Hall. You want to go ahead and talk again? I believe you are unmuted on my side.
Thank you, Sandra. I'm sorry, my link went dead there, and I didn't get to some of the follow-up on the question I had about National Drive Electric Week. Part of the reason I'm asking is that we're trying to make a decision, probably later part of this, probably next week, as to whether we allow anybody to across the country to have a physical event, and if you need to lobby for that. If you think of examples of where you would like the opportunity, not the commitment, but the opportunity to have a physical event, need to know probably fairly soon to whether we just to get your input into the process. Because right now, the likelihood is that we may not allow any events, at least that are defined with Plug-in America, Sierra Club, and EAA as part of National Drive Electric Week to be physical. So, I mean, anybody can do an event anytime they want on their own, but to be part of that platform, part of that program, and the grants and the material, that's where we would have to get your input.
Gotcha. Okay, good to know. Yeah, I think we will discuss that then quickly.
Thank you.
I do see that 2 people put questions in the question and answer portion. Perhaps we can answer at least one of them. What PHEV would you all recommend to maximize electric range without spending too much? Any takers?
The Toyota RAV4 Prime that's coming out looks like it has a fairly good range and has got a good history, good bones.
As an owner of a Volt, which you can't buy anymore, I do think a car with good range and good bones is important. And I don't, I'm not an expert on which ones are best, but I would check out the Honda Clarity plug-in as a possible option. I think it has pretty good electric miles, and Honda's generally a good company. And if you want to look at the list, there's a organization, I think Veloz has a dashboard of all the EV options that's pretty well laid out and full of the 47 or 48 options that we have in California today, not just plug-in electrics, but battery electrics as well.
Plugstar is another phenomenal site to compare different electric vehicles, both plug-in hybrids and battery electrics. And it provides a range and prices and incentives. It's a pretty comprehensive site. So it's at plugstar.com or .org. I'm not sure I remember which. Maybe both. But Plugstar.
Okay.
Great. And I think we have Peter with a comment on that as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, they said not spend too much, and my suggestion would be a used Volt, because the range would still be pretty decent and it probably wouldn't be very expensive either.
That makes sense, Peter.
You know what's the price of the used Volt these days? Is about 12 to 14,000 or 16,000? Any?
This is Peter. I don't know. I didn't check. I just threw that thought out off the top of my head there.
I do think it's in that range, 12 to 16, if my memory serves.
Great. And then we do have another, Sharon Erickson is with us today, and she's saying that she works with UC Davis students that can be interns for the EV grant project if needed. So please reach out to her if you are looking for that. Otherwise, I think we're about at time to move on to the next agenda item. So this is Jim. Jim, would you like to share your screen?
I'm here, and yeah, how's my audio, please?
You sound great. I'm going to stop sharing so that you can share.
Fantastic. I was going to do ID.3 first, but let me, do you care which I do first?
Nope, you can go ahead and do the ID.3 one
Oh,
first.
because my screen's already set up
Go
for
for it.
ID.3. And, well, it was there a second ago. Now let me see why it's not. Oh, there we go. Can anybody see that?
Yes, there it is. We see it.
A big blue car?
Yes.
It's not really that big. Okay, so hi everybody. Jim Wilson here, and I just have to tell you, I don't speak for DEVA. I have my own opinions, which can be kind of strong sometimes. I just wanted to say that. The other thing is that I will be showing some URLs at the end. So if you want to get your screensavers ready and you're interested and you want to capture some of those URLs, you're welcome to do that. So I'm going to talk about the ID.3. This is the first one of the series that is coming out. It's not available in the States, but it is available in Europe and maybe Canada. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I think it's really important to discuss this car. Some background on this is VW wants to sell 3 million EVs per year in 2025. They're really committed to this. All of these cars are going to be on the MEV platform, which is also called a skateboard. And somebody mentioned the van. I believe that will also be on the MEV platform, but I don't know when that's coming out. The cool thing for me anyway is the ID.3 is a rear engine car and it has rear wheel drive. And to those of you who know about real like torquey fun cars to drive, that's really a cool thing, and that's kind of new. They're also going to have a 4-wheel drive coming out later. I wanted to compare the e-Golf with the ID.3. The Golf, of course, has been a very, very popular car for like 15 years. And basically the ID.3 and the e-Golf are the same length, actually bumper to bumper. But as you can see here, the ID.3 has a slightly long wheelbase, which will make it a little bit more stable. Here's some kind of technical information. The ID.3 has 3 different battery sizes, and comparing the range from the e-Golf, which was like 80 to 120 miles, we're now going from 205 to 342 miles. Big improvement. The battery rate of charge used to be 50 kilowatts for the e-Golf. It's now up to 125 kilowatts. So you can use those great Electrify America chargers that are starting to appear all over the place. And by the way, Jim's opinion here is we need to get some Electrify America chargers in good old Davis. Okay, battery lifetime. They say 70% usable capacity after 8 years. That is very good for the ID.3. Motor power. The initial version will be 148 brake horsepower, and later they will be coming out with 201. That's good stuff if you like that kind of stuff. So I found a nice video that compares the ID.3 with the Model 3. And you can see that these are for the different, these ranges are for the 3 different battery options that you can get. But if you get the best option for the ID.3, it's very similar to what the Tesla is offering. Let me know if I'm going too fast or too slow. This is the charging speed. The Tesla will get 274 kilometers in 30 minutes. The ID will get about the same, 290 kilometers in 30 minutes. Good stuff. This is acceleration. The Tesla Model 3, I don't think anybody's going to be able to touch that for a long time. 5.6 seconds for 0 to 62 miles per hour. The ID.3, I've heard different things. 9 seconds, 8 seconds, not sure on that, but that's still pretty good. I know I definitely enjoy mine, and mine's about in that range. Here's a view of the interior. There are 2 displays, one small one attached to the steering column, and one on the right that's a larger one. I like this one because it's not one of the huge displays like the Tesla has. I don't like to be distracted too much when I drive, so. Price, okay, this is really important. Model 3, at least in Europe, not here, but in Europe, 44,000 euros. In Europe, 30,000 euros. And in Germany, a good friend of mine was sharing with me that they actually have a $6,000 euro rebate or incentive that is, I believe, going up to $9,000 because of COVID. And so that brings the cost down to like 23,000 or less euros. That is still pretty expensive when you convert to dollars, but that gives you a rough idea. But when I say expensive, it's actually a lot cheaper than a Tesla, but it's good stuff. When I was doing my research, I came across a lot of stuff that, now, you know, for me, VW has always been about the driving experience and the handling and the performance. And so I always have sort of a negative reaction when I hear about these things. So these are some things that they had: a large touch screen, voice control, navigation, panoramic glass roof, augmented reality, heads-up display. If those are things that appeal to you, sounds good, but for me, I just don't need that kind of stuff on my car. And they have all the, you know, the thing that keeps you from changing lanes from when you want to and things like that. So, you know, not good stuff for me. But here's another thing that I find annoying. They've installed this display of LED lights that goes all the way across the dashboard. I have no idea what the function is, but apparently it has a little display when you get in the car that says like, welcome to ID.3 or whatever. I don't know. And the last thing that I really don't like, and this is my opinion, but the first thing I would do if I got an ID.3, which I'm going to try to do, is to change those wheels. I don't know. Here again, can't do it. So here's the thing. Bringing over a car from Europe might be difficult. There are a lot of things like lights and mirrors and displays and things that have to conform to the US. I've been talking to somebody who might help me do it. But the thing that I just found out about is that they might be sold in Canada. And so it might be much easier to get one from Canada than it is from Europe. So I don't have much more information on that, but that might be something that you might want to look into. And so that is my brief discussion of the ID.3. The ID.4, some of you may know, is sort of like a crossover SUV that will be sold in the United States. And I believe that's coming out sometime around the end of the year. That's my understanding. So you can talk to your local VW people if you're interested in one of those. Still will run on the same skateboard, the same platform as I understand it. Okay. If you want to take a screen capture, here are a couple of URLs that you might like. So that, I believe, is pretty much my presentation for the ID.3. So Tim and Sandra, should I go straight on to the next one, or should we have a question or two? What do you think?
I'm not sure that Sandra's muted or has stepped out, but she would like to answer a question about the ID.3 live, and it's from Guy, and the question is, when is the ID.3 coming to the U.S.? And you might have some opinion on that, Jim.
Okay. All I know, Guy, is that VW in its wisdom has decided that this type of a car, a hatchback, is not going to be popular in the United States. So right now the answer is never. But you can get, as I said, the ID.4. Now, my personal feeling is if you are interested, as I am, in getting the ID.3, is to go down and say something to your local dealer, and hopefully the word will get passed along, because I would really like to have one. Yeah, so thank you for the question.
There are two additional questions from the chat. One is what is the EPA range?
Sorry, don't know.
Okay. And is the ID going to be available in 4-wheel drive?
Yes, eventually it will. I understand. I don't know when that will be. It will. They're starting out with the rear-wheel drive, however.
Great. I think that's it for questions.
Thank you.
Sandra, should Jim go on with his other presentation then?
Yes, that sounds good.
Hey, Sandra, this
Give
is
me a
Peter.
second to bring that up.
Peter?
Oh, Peter, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just really quick. There won't be an EPA range if it doesn't come to the US, right? So, I mean, it's kind of a moot question.
Very good point. Okay, and I don't see any other hands raised that I might have missed, so great. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Scenery change here. Another short presentation that I thought would be interesting is having to do with V2G, or also called V2H, which is vehicle to house. And this is important because, you know, we're going to have fire season coming up. And sorry, I lost it. There we go. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. So a little background here is, well, let me jump to the conclusion. I did not find any hardware that's available that will allow us to do this this summer before fire season. I know that there are some solutions that depend on bringing power out of the 12-volt connector, you know, the cigar lighter. And some of them also require having, you know, photovoltaic panels to give you some backup power if the grid goes down. But these are not real ideal solutions. They're usually limited to about, you know, 1,000 watts or so. What we really want to do is we want to get power out of the battery as directly as possible. So there are two different ways to do this. This is just a little background. You can use an AC system, which is similar to the level 2 that everybody knows about. In that case, you need really 3 things. You need an EVSE that's bidirectional, but that is not a problem because all the EVSE is just a switch. So switches by definition are bidirectional, but I think the control needs to be bidirectional. You also need in your car to have a bidirectional charger. So the level 2 chargers that people have in their cars now typically go up to 6.6 kilowatts, something like that, but they're, to the best of my knowledge, one directional, just for charging the battery. I don't know about Nissan Leaf. I understand they're ahead of the game in this area. They might have bidirectional AC chargers in the vehicle. That would be very interesting to find out about. I'm sorry, I really don't know about that. But in any case, if we can get this type of system working, we'll be able to bring power out of the battery. And it would be passing through the J1772 coupler that we all know about. Now, I'm going to share with you guys a little later 2 companies. One is called Nuve. One is called Wallbox, that are the closest to having hardware that I'm familiar with that may be happening soon. So if we can get this Nuve hardware, we can get up to 19.2 kilowatts out of the car using the 1772. So that, as I say, depends on whether the cars will be able to support that or not. I also understand that to use the Nuve hardware, you have to join they have some sort of a network. I forgot the name of it, but you have to join their network. So I can't give you any more information than that, but I'll give you some URLs, some links at the end that you can find out maybe some more information about that. The other thing that is really more interesting to me anyway is using DC to connect directly to the battery. And this would use our old favorite CCS and CHAdeMO connections. And in this case, you use what's called a bidirectional charger, which is kind of a silly name because it only charges in one direction. You obviously can't charge the grid. But that's what you would need to do this system. And there are 2 devices coming around that will do this. One is made by Nuve. Unfortunately, I think that's about 50 kilowatts, far more than anybody can connect to their house. But this wall box, we want to talk about that because that has a more reasonable power level to it, and that may be out by the end of the year. I wanted to just include this because Europe is way ahead of us. This is an example of a program that they have in Europe where people sign up to test out the hardware. Unfortunately, registration closed on March 20th. So if you know anybody in Europe who's interested in this, I think this one is a little bit too late for them. If anybody wants to take a screen capture of that, you're welcome to do that. I'll leave that on for a couple of seconds. Okay. So here's some of the information on Nuve that I was talking about. As you recall, I was talking about having an AC charger. So you can either get single phase or 3-phase. And this is all on their website. So I'll give you the URL for that. If you want single phase, which is similar to our level 2, that's the 1772 connector. In Europe, they have this 3-phase connector, which is, well, I can't show it to you, but it's, in Europe, they do have 3-phase chargers in some of the vehicles. Here's the DC charging that we were talking about. And remember, I mentioned that these are very high power. This is 60 kilowatts. And you cannot get that kind of power out of your house. A normal house, the maximum load you're likely to see in a typical house is maybe about 10 kilowatts. So your panel will not support anything near that, besides the fact that it's 3-phase. But these are interesting because they might be installed in certain cities. And here again, Davis might be interested in exploring this, trying to get one, in advance of this V2G happening, so that when the cars are finally come around to being capable of this, that Davis might actually have a charger like this. So here's the real solution as I see it. This is called a quasar. It's made by a company called Wallbox, I believe. I will have a URL for them. It is right now Chatamo, but they did display at CES in Las Vegas, and they are coming out with a 1772 coupler on it. And it says 7.4 kilowatts, if you can read that. And that is really nice for a home situation, because most of your homes boards can support that kind of a load. And it is bidirectional, so if the power goes down, you can pump power back into the house. Important note, I don't have a screen on this, but if you decide to go this way, you really need to check and know what you're doing. You cannot pump power into a grid that is down. If the power goes down from the utility, you absolutely cannot pump power back into that grid, because it could be lethal to somebody working on the grid. So you've got to really go through an electrician and really know what you're doing. So that's just a caution that I would say. For this quasar, you can't probably read this, but there is a lot of information available that you can download, the user manuals and all of that sort of thing. Installation guide is on their site. And so once again, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be able to have those. So maybe next year we'll have solutions to the fire problem. I just want to throw this in here. I know a fellow who's working on this. Is called the HEMBus. It's sort of a new approach to tying everything together. You have your battery through bidirectional chargers. You have solar. You have the grid over here. You have all of your loads down here. And it uses, I won't go into the technical details, but it uses a really great system for tying all of this together and for matching the voltages automatically, which has always been a big problem. I think I have the URL on that. Let's see if I have the URLs coming up. Okay. No, I don't. On this one, just make a note if you're interested, hembus.com. And if you'd like to talk to a friend of mine, they're looking for a CEO for the company. So if you would like to do that, please let me know. So here are the URLs. If you want to take a screen capture, this is for the company that was doing a program that for the Europeans, but you might find it interesting to look that up. For the United States, here's the URL for Nuve, and here's the URL for Wallbox. And you want to find their quasar DC charger. And so I hope that's helpful. I'm sorry I don't have any solutions we can use this summer, but that's my presentation. And if you have any brief questions, Sandra or Tim?
Interesting information. Thank you.
I do see one comment from Katrina. She says that she believes that Tesla and Leaf might be bidirectional.
Yes, Tesla has been talking about it for quite a while. I don't think it's happened yet. My personal feeling is that we are kind of going to have to do this on our own, the same way that people started building electric vehicles way back when, because the big car owners are dealing with some huge liability problems and trying to get that worked out. So I think we're going to have to do it kind of on our own if we're going to do it.
Gotcha.
And Leaf, you might be right. I think that's the one company that is farther ahead of everybody else.
Okay, and Peter, you have a comment?
Yeah, actually, a couple. One is, I mean, I would think that any vehicle that had either CHAdeMO or CCS would be capable of bidirectional charging, well, charging, discharging, because it should just be software. That you know, the car has software that's preventing it from discharging directly through the charge port on the battery, and so you know, and again, as Jim mentioned, it's a liability warranty kind of issue. That's why it's not being done. Because I think PG&E did a trial or a pilot, I guess is what they call it, with BMWs with the i3s, I think, and they did bidirectional charging with those, and you know, it did work, but of course it was, you know, they were specially configured i3s. The other thing I was going to say is, and this is not really related to vehicle to home, but that you know, PG&E has been raked over the coals many times for their public power safety shutoffs, I guess is what they call them, or public, whatever that is that they call them. And they've finally realized that there's actually ways that they can try to reduce the number of customers that are going to be out and the duration. They're looking at look at number one, sectionalizing the distribution system, putting more switches in, and also adding some like temporary generation at substations to help power certain areas of the grid. So the number of customers that are going to be impacted this summer hopefully will be fewer. But it's still going to be a pain in the butt if you're one of the ones that's got your power turned off. So
Good comments.
Great. We have a couple comments in the chat that everybody can see. Lucid Air is planning to be AC vehicle to grid 2021. Some information on that. And then the PG&E project that was mentioned as well. And Rivian planning to also. Great information.
And just so people know, if you don't already, you can save the chat. If you go down to the very bottom right, there's those three little dots. And if you click on that, there's an option to save the chat, and it saves to a specific folder on your computer. I've found the saved chats just by searching for chat, but usually it's pretty easy to find.
And we will also be sharing. We will also be sharing this recording at the like tomorrow or something when we get it online. Thank you, Jim. Tim?
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I think I'm up next, and I am going to start sharing my screen then. And let me get to where I need to be. All right, can everybody see all those EVs out there?
Yes.
So thanks to Guy and Aaron from Cool Davis for the presentations that I took from to make this. I'm not an expert on buying a used EV, but I have driven EVs for quite a while and had quite a few of the different models as they're as leased or new. And we have purchased one used EV, which is why I volunteered to do this. We purchased it for my daughter up in Portland going to college. And as I was putting these presentations together, merging them, I noticed that is a picture of my daughter that was in Guy's presentation with the red Nissan Leaf that we purchased for her. I'm not sure exactly how it got there, but all of a sudden I realized that's what I'm looking at. Very interesting. So why would you get an EV? 95% of used PEV owners would get another plug-in electric vehicle, and only 3% would not buy or lease one. So there's great driver satisfaction for these vehicles, obviously. There are some pros. There are many used EVs on the market now. They have competitive prices and costs because you've gotten rid of that, that new car price premium, and since EV technology is changing so fast, the used cars usually are discounted even more than a gasoline car. There's lower insurance and registration costs typically for these lower priced cars. Many of them have been previously leased, so that means they're usually clean and well maintained with a low number of miles. I'm not sure that the clean and well maintained applies to my daughter's vehicle, but many others perhaps. And some incentives are still available, and I'll get to that later in the talk. So the cons is that there are fewer incentives available. You don't get the federal tax credit or the state clean vehicle rebate for these used EVs. They likely have a shorter range than the newer models, as you could have, as everyone has seen. The ranges have just been increasing significantly over the last few years. Likely have older charging and technology, so that you may not be able to charge as quickly as in these used EVs, and you might not have some of the tech that includes, staying in the same lane or lane checks and things of that sort. The batteries may be somewhat degraded, but generally, for a used EV that's a few years old, it shouldn't be too degraded in my experience. And your carpool decals may no longer be valid, although I think there is a program where you can get carpool decals for a used EV if you're in a low-income category in California. Here's some of the incentives still available. You can get, if you're income eligible, less than $83,000 for a family of 3, you can get $1,500 for a used hybrid, $4,500 for a plug-in hybrid, and $5,000 for a battery EV, all electric, through this website, cleanvehiclegrants.org. I believe as well that many utilities still have incentives for EVs, even if they're used. If they haven't gotten a utility incentive before for that VIN, you can get a utility incentive. And in PG&E's service territory, it's about $800. Not available if you've if the vehicle has already received that PG&E incentive. Here are some of the popular used models. I've leased a Fiat 500e new before, and those are some of the cheapest or lowest cost used models. You can get one for about $6,000 to $7,000, maybe a better deal somewhere. It's a really peppy car with a pretty good range for normal commutes. Nissan Leaf is one of the most common ones. As you could see, that same red car is the one that we purchased for my daughter, and I think we paid about $8,000 for it. They're typically in the $8,000 to $12,000 range, depending on the vintage and the battery miles in it. And then you can go up from there. There's a lot of Chevy Bolts out there right now that are available for around $20,000 range. And there's a company in Oregon where my daughter lives called Platts that has many, many models available. They specialize specifically in selling used EVs, and they export to Canada, and I presume they would be able to bring a car down here in some fashion. If my daughter ends up moving back down to the Sacramento area, she just graduated from college, her Leaf will and buy a used Volt, and then that should be able to make it down here with the fast charging along the way. So what you should do if you're going to be interested in this is compare the price of the used EV with new vehicles and all the pros and cons that I mentioned. Check it to see if the seller would provide a battery failure warranty from the manufacturer or a certified used vehicle program. Run a vehicle history report through Carfax or something like some other program that does those things. Get a reputable report on the battery capacity and learn what that means. Typically, if you've taken your EV in to be serviced in regular service, You'll get a battery check as part of that regular service, and that's what we're kind of talking about here. Of course, make negotiations over phone and email, not in person. I'm not sure exactly if maybe Aaron or somebody in Cool Davis that put that point together can explain the reasoning behind that, and line up any financing or temporary borrowing that you need. Ask if the previous owner abused the car with high speeds and in heat, drain the battery pretty low often. Make sure that if you want that option and it's available for the vehicle, that it has a fast charger, so you have that flexibility when you're driving, particularly a battery electric vehicle, not a plug-in hybrid. And then, of course, at the end, schedule a test drive, and that test drive requests the car be near fully charged, so that you make sure that your test drive is successful, and make sure that the charging cables, you want that 110 charger when you buy the car. It comes in handy many times. And test the charging connection, check the lights, and make sure everything is working when the car's plugged in to charge. You do the test drive, assess the regenerative braking. I don't know if I would be able to really sense whether the regenerative braking is not good or not. I know that in some of the newer vehicles, it's pretty powerful, but I've not really driven one of those. I don't know that I could tell in my current Leaf or Bolt that it really is deteriorated or not. And then note the difference between reported range and actual. I don't know how you would do that unless you took the test drive on a fairly long test drive, but it's something to think about to see whether or not what you're hearing from the previous owner or from the company you're buying this for is accurate. There's a bunch of links at the Cool Davis Drive Electric webpage that talks about grants for used electric vehicles, a buyer's guide from Plug-in America, a marketplace from SAC EV. You can look at Kelly Blue Book. I did that when I donated my old Toyota RAV4 to American River College to look and see what the potential value was, because there were some being sold back then. Auto Trader says there's 1,000 used EVs available. I looked that up. You can look on, of course, Craigslist and eBay and sites like that. There's sites like TrueCar and My EV if you're really interested in buying a used EV. And then enjoy that car, whether it's new, purchased, leased, or bought used. Electric vehicles are fun to drive. And that's all I have. I can stop sharing, or these slides will be available as Sandra said at the Cool Davis website. So, is there any questions?
I am not seeing any immediate questions here. Couple comments on used volts going for 12 to 18,000, which is great to hear. And Chevy Bolts are coming off leases. Oh, Heath Carney is here. I am going to unmute you. Go ahead and unmute yourself. You should be able to talk.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
It hears me? Okay, well, hey, I just wanted to put in my support for this presentation about used EVs. And for those who don't recognize my name, I have sold vehicles for about 20 years, and actually most of them have been used vehicles rather than new. I've been very much involved in new EVs, of course, since they began. But now let me emphasize that in support of this presentation, that yes, now we have an increasingly solid used EV market. And what I'd just like to underscore too is there's, I think, really two main categories of used EVs of particular interest. For those people who are still concerned about like having warranty for reliability and so on, I think certified EV programs are really, really good. Now this is manufacturer certified, okay? And they can have really, really solid warranty programs. And I think what you want to be aware of too is that even for other EVs, maybe you're not getting it from, say, a manufacturer certified program, you still have that 8-year, 100,000-mile warranty minimally for EVs, which is really good. Now, finally, what I want to mention too, though, is that even older EVs have a 2011 Volt, and I mean, it's doing great. The battery is, I'm still getting at least the original EPA estimates. So they can be, even the older EVs can be great also. But what I would caution you about there is especially look at that battery range, because of course some of the original Leafs, for example, they weren't doing too well. But hey, I want to once again just conclude by supporting very much this presentation, and hope everybody gets a chance to look at this more. This is finally where EVs are becoming affordable, I think, and that's really, really important. Okay, that's it.
Thanks, Steve. We have a 2011, 2012 Volt as well, and the battery electric range is pretty much exactly what it was when we bought it.
Great, there you go. Yeah, maybe Katrina Sutton can tell you good things about it too. There you go.
We also have Richard. I am unmuting you. Go ahead.
Good. I just thought I'd put my 2 bits in for the Volt 2. I recently saw a study by, I guess, an Ohio State University professor on how long the batteries are lasting. And he compared, I guess it was a 2011 Volt with, I think it was a 2018 Volt, and found that it, I guess with a variety of them, it only lost maybe 2-3% of their total capacity. So they really held up well.
Wow.
Partly due to their engineering design of liquid cooled. So the Volts have actually held up really well. Hopefully the Bolts do the same, and Teslas supposedly hold up really well as well. So anyway, just thought I'd add that in.
Can I mention that you've brought up a really good point too, though, is what I've noticed, and this is the case for both Leafs and Volts, for example, you have a chance with used EVs to look at how they have varied year to year. So the Volt, for example, boy, they just hit a home run right at the beginning with 2011s. On the other hand, there are some years where the quality was not quite there. And of course, Leafs, there they kind of had a slow start, but then they improved eventually. So I think it helps to look at that specific year of a used EV that you're considering.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I don't see any other questions. Oh, Guy Hall, I am unmuting you. I think you need to unmute yourself. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Sandra. Hey, one of the interesting things of buying a used plug-in hybrid is that you think about how many miles, when you normally buy a used car, you wonder how many miles does it have on the car? But with plug-in hybrids, you have to look at 2 numbers. You know, how many miles are on the engine and how many miles were done electric. You could find yourself with a 30,000 mile driven car that has only 10,000 miles on the engine. I mean, it's like a brand, baby, brand new engine. So take a look at both the engine and the battery miles to see where your wear has been.
Great. Thank you for that reminder. I think it's about time for us to move on to the next presentation. So we have Sloane Morgan from Gig Carshare, who will be sharing how they are helping EV adoption in Sacramento. Sloane?
Hi there, everybody. Let's see, I'm trying to get my video. Hi, everybody.
There we go. Hello.
Nice to talk to you, and I'm learning a lot. And we have, so Gig is a division of AAA, And we have a fleet of 260 Chevy Bolt with the B that's operating out of Sacramento. We're part of the Green Cities Initiative, so we're part of helping Sacramento with their EV adoption. And we have a free floating model. And that means that we're sort of like jump bikes. So the cars are floating around a service area, which we call a home zone. And that home zone is about 18 square miles. So we are operating, so that's kind of like your parking lot. The cars can go anywhere and we keep them charged up. So that 18 square mile home zone area basically starts from the Sacramento River on the west. It's as high north as sort of Alkali Flats, and then kind of it curves around and follows the American River. And then we're as far east as Cal State University. And then we're as far south as Fruit Ridge. So for your other, EV enthusiasts who are trying to be car free or car light, who still want to check out what it's like to drive and, take part in this whole EV revolution, you can participate by using an app, and you can find, the 260 cars that we keep juiced up and ready to go. In Sacramento, someone is just commenting that they're seeing a lot of Bolts outside the home zone. So people are very confident about getting the cars out of the home zone and charging. We, of course, are using Electrify America's fast charging and other fast charging. And we also at our headquarters have fast charging. So we at one point may do some sort of gamification and ask members to charge, but since we're just in our first year, we're just really interested in getting people comfortable with the EV technology, feeling comfortable on the app and getting in the car and not worrying about charging. So the cars are charged up and ready to go. So we are, since we're AAA, we're very much member focused. We're really always trying to figure out like what is the best thing that we can do to help our members. And I was interested to talk to you all today because our gig members are saying they would really like gig and our EV fleet to come to Davis. So I've been working with the city of Davis with one of the planners, Brian Abenot, and we are finding a parking lot in the city of Davis, not on the campus, but at a off-street lot near Wake Forest, some of the apartments over there. So we're hoping to be able to bring the service to the city, and that means that I know Davis is a big bike city. If you want to put your bikes up on top of the cars, all of the cars come with 2 Thule bike racks. So we think that's going to be a nice thing for Davis folks. Guys asking me what's the minimum range on a car I pick up. You can look in the app. If you're going to go on a longer trip, pick a car that has 200 miles on it or 180 miles or something like that. If you're going on a short trip, it doesn't really matter. But when you're on the app, you can see what the charge is in terms of miles on each of the cars. So that makes it really easy for people to figure out where they want to, if they need it for longer or shorter. A lot of trips are just short trips. If you want to go forward in the slides, Sandra. The other thing I wanted to address is COVID. So you can go one more forward. We're really trying to make sure that people feel really safe in the cars. And what that means is that we have redoubled our cleaning. We use a hot water steam clean. It's basically like a giant vacuum goes into the car and it's completely hot water jetted all through the inside of the car. It's pretty amazing. We've been using this pre-COVID and turns out it's really great in COVID as well. So we do that really deep steam cleaning. Every time we charge or we have to move a car for some reason, we also touch all of the 5 points, meaning the steering wheel, the gear shift, the radio knobs, with an approved CDC approved cleaner, antibacterial cleaner. Our main focus for our team and for all members is that they have a safe experience. We also ask in the app if you have COVID or been exposed to COVID, please don't take the cars. If someone reports that the car has been exposed to COVID, we have a really robust process. Because it's AAA, we just send out a tow truck. We put the car in quarantine for 2 weeks. Once we're past the time, we do the deep cleaning again, and then the car would be clean. So we're really focusing on that. We want people to be able to feel confident because we are really trying to support car-free and car-lite people. We don't want to not be able to serve them when they need cars. We have been able to be an essential service. So we have continued to operate as an essential service through this whole COVID period. And we're doing that by spending all of this extra time cleaning the cars. The steam cleaning, I noticed that somebody said that you saw someone smoking in the car. Really trying to not have people smoke in the car. We're super sensitive to that. Everybody who gets in a car, someone has been smoking in it, really smells. So that was one of the reasons we got the steam cleaning, because that really negates it. It has like a negative ionization process that makes the cars not smell like that. So definitely, if someone's smoking in one of our cars, please report it to us, because we really aren't keen on that. So last thing we've been doing is, when utilization was low, we've been trying to support community members. That program has ended now, but we were really happy to be able to put the cars to use while we were on the more strict shelter in place. And that's been really a great, we all felt really, really good about doing that in this Gig for Good program. Now that we're starting to come out of the shelter in place and the restrictions are loosening up, we're trying to figure out again how this car service can really support people who are car free or car light or EV curious, however, whatever that is. And that's why we're looking to expand to Davis, and we're also looking at some other areas for expansion. So I'll stop there and happy to answer any questions. Looks like one question is the Gig SAC to San Francisco still working? So we do have a program with the Prius fleet. Our Bay Area fleet is the Prius, Toyota Prius C, and those cars can go from the Bay Area one way and end their trip in Sacramento. Currently, and that's what Dale is mentioning, currently we have paused that program until we get out of all of the sort of shelter in place restrictions, but everybody's really eager to bring it back. We think it's a great way for people to carpool on a very big commuter route. We also want to support Amtrak, so we have gig cars parking and accessible at Amtrak to support you if you take the train, you get off and you want to get in a gig. So the program's paused for now, but we will let you know when we relaunch it. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer. Oh, someone's saying they were nearly car free for a year by using Gig. That's great. Thank you. That's what we're trying to do. Can you take a Bolt to BART? No, you can't currently take a Bolt to BART. The Bolts, just because we don't feel like we have enough fast charging infrastructure in the Bay Area. So we currently are not allowing the Bolts to come down to the Bay Area. I mean, they're doing all sorts of trips, and we can help you. Just the cost of the charging is included in the cost of renting the car. So our member care team will direct you to the fastest charge, and we will pay for that. For the most part, we have relationships with them so we can pay for it. Yes, we have had people run out of range during a rental. We really try for that not to happen, but we'll come and get you, or we'll put you in a Lyft or Uber if that happens. Or I don't think we put you in the tow truck anymore, but we'll arrange for a ride for you so that you'll be safe. Any other questions? Great. Well, I think there's
We have one more or two more that have just popped up. When and where do you primarily charge the car? Electrify America or EV Go? And do you have a specific charging infrastructure for Gig at all?
Yeah, well, we do have, we're based out of the Business Depot, Depot Park, which is just in the southeast area of Sacramento. And we do have fast charging and L2s there as well. So we're charging there, our members are charging, and we support our members wherever they want to charge. And we also have relationships. Electrify America is our partner who brought us to Sacramento as part of the Green Cities Initiative. And we do charge at other locations as well. And we want to support all of this infrastructure as we grow the charging infrastructure, so we can all take our cars, go further and further more securely. Switching to another question, yes, we've been talking to the airport. The airport is slightly shut down right now because of the rental car situation. But yes, we will be launching gig at the Sacramento airport. I feel very confident about it. So that's, stay tuned for that. We're in the Oakland airport. We're not at the San Francisco airport, but we're trying to get into the San Francisco airports as well. And this is just a picture of some folks that were using the gig cars. So we had people who were helping get food and supplies to housebound elders. They were delivering Chromebooks to kids who were part of, remote learning. So the cars really did get some extra use as part of our Gig for Good program. So we're super proud of that and happy that we were able to do that. Happy to, my email address can be shared through the organization. So happy to follow up and answer any questions. And I'll reach out to some of the private folks who reached out to me and follow up with that with you directly. So thanks.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Sloane. Yes, we will share these slides and we'll share her email address with everybody so that you can follow up with other questions that you might have also. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks again.
So we're in the final segment here. Which is simply a discussion, about 10 minutes of discussion. Any announcements, questions, follow-ups? This is time for you as members to talk and share.
Anybody have anything to add to the evening? We had a series of good presentations and interesting facts presented to us.
Looks like we have Peter. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this isn't related to EVs, but just in case anybody's curious, there was a application window for renewable generation that just closed a couple months ago, and PG&E has applications for 20,000 megawatts of new generation, wind, solar, and battery storage. Obviously, most of that won't come to fruition, but it's just interesting to note how much generation is requesting to connect to the system, because PG&E's load is only about 26,000 megawatts. So therefore they've got in 1 year, they got an applications for almost replacing their entire fleet of generation.
Wow, good to know. I thought I saw another hand. Not anymore. No final questions or fun announcements from anybody? Any good long summer trips happening this summer in your EVs?
It's not the best summer for traveling, it seems.
Yeah, that would be true. Oh, we have a Q&A. Kenneth is asking, does anybody know what the update on Ford's E150 pickup is?
I don't know if Katrina has an answer to that.
Our resident EV expert, Katrina. Oh, she's not on the call anymore.
Okay.
Oh, she is, but she's not available. My bad.
Sandra, this is Guy. Am I live?
Yes.
I did just saw a message today that they pushed out the delivery of that for another year beyond what the original plans. It was just something in the last day or so news. So might do a quick Google News search. It'll give you more detail.
Okay. And I think I missed another hand. That was up and went back down?
I like the idea that was put in the chat by Dale about counting virtual trips for our summer travel.
I say they count. Give us a photo stream of all the places you wish you could have gone.
We'll say that traveling in my car sounds a lot better than getting into an airplane.
Yeah.
True. And Steve, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah. Originally, June 23rd was the date the electric E150 was going to be coming out. And I hadn't heard about it being pushed off a year. And then the Mach-E orders are going to be placed, changing them from reservations to actual orders on June 22nd at a dealership and June 24th if you want to do it yourself online.
Good to know. Thanks for finding that for us.
Great brain trust here.
Oh, am I still on?
If you would like to be, yes.
Okay. Also, the color on the car in the back behind me here, they announced this new color today.
What is the color?
Cyber orange.
Cool.
But only the GTs can get it. Not the lower end cars.
Gotcha. Okay.
And maybe if you stop sharing, we'd be able to see that better.
No, because we can't see his video.
Okay. All right. I think unless there's another final question, that sounds like it's about it. It's about time anyway. I appreciate everybody for coming, and we'll do it again in a couple of months with more presentations and more fun.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.